Latin 3, here we go. The Rescue, chapter 83 from Ulysses. So Ulysses, when he had awaited his men from the 7th hour to dark, so in other words, night had fallen, fearing that, notice that it's fearing that thing, right? So fearing that that his men had turned, or that his allies had been turned in danger, in other words, had run into a problem, he sent non nullos, some, out of the remaining ones, so that they could, he sent them to find or to learn what the cause or what the reason was for the delay, what the reason of the delay was. Therefore, these guys, having been deployed onto land, who had been deployed onto land, ad vicum qui non longe aberat se contular, they took themselves to the village which was not far away. When they had arrived there, they discovered their friends or their allies drunk, just as if from wine. At that moment, when they taught them, so now you're starting to get into like who's teaching whom. So when they, the guys who were already drunk, told to them, the guys who had just found them, the reason, I'm sorry, I got it reversed. When they, the guys who had just shown up, told to them, the drunks, the reason for coming, they tried, those who had come, to persuade them, those who had gotten drunk, to come with them, those who had shown up, back to the ship. If you draw a diagram and use blue and red, it would probably help. However, those ones, the ones who are farther from us, therefore the ones who are on drugs essentially, those ones who had gotten there first. Literally, it puts us on Ulysses' side because those ones are farthest away from us, and the ones that are farthest away are the ones who left earlier. The ones that are closest to us are these guys because they're closest to the ship, and therefore it's assumed that we're on the ship. So, however, those guys began to resist or to fight back and to defend themselves with their hand or by hand. Often shouting out that they, the Lotus Eaters, or the Greeks who had gotten drunk, would never leave from that place. When things were so, messengers returned reinfecta ad Ulixem. Messengers returned, having told Ulysses what had happened. When he had learned these things, he himself, Ulysses, with all who were left behind on the ship, came to that place. So now he's pulled in wave number 3. Since he had left behind all the rest. So he is wave number 3. It's he himself who would won. Once he had urged his allies in vain to return by their own free will, he brought them back to the ship unwilling, with the hands of them bound behind their backs. So I, for a while, thought, oh, maybe he tied their hands and he led them. But it kind of occurred to me that maybe he just bent their hands in such a way, like when you were in elementary school and you had that friend who figured out an arm bar, and bent their arms behind their back that way. It just sounds funnier that way to me, so I always went with that. Then, once he had raised anchor, as quickly as possible, they set sail from this port. So that's how he rescued them. It's so far pretty mundane, which then will get us to a really fun couple of chapters. So if you've ever seen O Brother, Where Art Thou? We're there. And those of you who came with me to Italy, we're about to get to where we saw, where we spent all that time on top of the mountain and ate really delicious honey. Anyway, I'm going to hit the button.